Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Books, a weekly feature for the Powell River Public Library. My name is Megan Cole. I'm the Teen Services Coordinator at the library. And during our closure, I've been doing a weekly video feature where I talk about books, as the title suggests. Talking about books is something I really enjoy about working at the library. I love hearing what people are reading. So many people recommend books to us over the desk, which means I have a to-read list longer than I will ever be able to get to. But during these times of physical distancing, I have been diving into my to-read pile, as well as checking out lots of books from the library. I do buy a lot of books and often don't get to them because of the due dates of my library books. So I've been trying to read what I have at home. Many of the titles that I do have in my home library are ones we have at the Powell River Public Library. So when we are open again, you'll be able to find those there. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about what I've been reading since last week, and also to spotlight a couple poetry books because April is National Poetry Month. So since we last spoke, or I last spoke to you, I finished Unquiet by Lynn Allman, which was the book I read from last week. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Got me thinking a lot about fiction and nonfiction and fact and fiction and memory as well. So we do have that one in the collection, and when we're back at the library, you can check that one out. From there, I moved on to a book called Following the River by Lori Nielsen Glenn. This one is one that I've had in my collection for probably a couple of years now. Lori is a friend of mine, a writer friend who I got to know through my master's program. And this book is a memoir. It is history, and it is really fantastic writing. The story is essentially Lori goes on a quest to find out more about her family background, and her Aunt Kay has kind of put this idea in her mind that she needs to find out more about these women in her family, and one of the women in her family has her great-grandmother Catherine passed away in a tragic fire on a boat in the Red River area in Manitoba. And so as things go with history, people are often left out, marginalized people. So in Lori's family, it is Métis women, and their stories are largely unwritten. So Lori goes on a journey to find out more about these women. She finds out more about a lot of the women who history has glossed over, these strong women who built communities, raised children, and so much more. And it was just such an interesting read. I learned so much about part of the world that I should really know more about, and just really fell more in love with Lori's writing as well. So that was Following the River, Traces of Red River Women. And from there, I moved on to two books kind of at the same time. I read this one, Not One of These Poems Is About You by Teva Harrison. And Teva was well known for her graphic memoir called In Between Days. It was an award-winning graphic memoir about her experience with cancer. Teva unfortunately passed away in 2019, and this book was published in earlier this year, and it is a collection of poems and drawings as she kind of comes to the end of her battle with cancer and what it means to say goodbye to a partner under those conditions and to come to terms with life and dying as well. It is beautiful. It is just like super vulnerable and honest. I gobbled it in one sitting, and I really, really enjoyed that one and would recommend it to those of you who love poetry. The one I'm reading right now is this beautiful book, for lack of another word. It is Greenwood by Michael Christie. Was nominated for the Gillard Prize, is currently shortlisted for the BC and Yukon Book Prizes Fiction Prize. It is a beautiful book, as you can see, just based on its gorgeous cover. It also has some really interesting details on the pages. You can see these kind of look like the rings of trees, which makes sense because this is a book largely about trees, about forests. It is fiction. It's kind of a dystopian fiction. That's how I've been describing it to everyone I've been recommending it to. And it starts in 2038 after what is called the Great Withering, which the trees have died off, everything turns to dust, and people are kind of having to adapt to this new climate. And there is this beautiful island off the coast of BC that has remained with beautiful old growth forests, and it's become somewhat of a tourist destination for the rich and famous who go in search of religious experience. And so that is kind of the world that we start in, and then we go back in time as we learn more about some of the characters in this book. Jake is the main character, Jake Greenwood, and then we learn more about her father, Liam, his mother, Willow, and more and more characters kind of come into it, and their complicated histories with forest and industry and each other, and it's just a really great book, and I'm fighting all of my urges not to, spend every minute reading more of it. I will probably be done it very soon because I just can't get enough of it right now. And I would really recommend this one to you if you're looking for a great fiction read. But today I wanted to spend a little bit more time with Teva's book, as well as this beautiful book by Laisha Rosnau called Our Familiar Hunger. It won the Dorothy Livesay Prize last year for poetry, and around this time last year, Laisha was also in Powell River reading from this book as part of the BC and Yukon Book Prizes tour. And we got to hear a little bit more about the stories behind these books. Laisha's family and the women in her family were a big influence, but also a lot of the women who come to Canada, who come to North America in search of a better life and what those struggles look like when they arrive here. And so I wanted to focus on this book and this book because it is National Poetry Month. So I thought I would start with Teva's book, and I'm going to kind of start at the beginning and jump to the end. I'll read two. When I purchased this book, I fell in love with the first poem almost right away. It is called Ode to the Pacific Ocean. To stand at the edge of the sea, waves lapping hungrily, to feel the sand shift beneath my feet, called out to the wonder and the vast, to feel the salt drying on my ankles, crusting over porous skin. I'm infinite, I'm small, I am at peace. The swirling, the raging, the disquiet that usually roils beneath my skin, it is gone, as if it never was. And the waves are crashing, and the waves are lapping, and the waves are creeping in. And my heart is pounding, and my heart is beating, and my heart is open. Come in. And the second poem I'm going to read from Teva's book is called Shifting Shadows. Sun shifting through trees and slatted wood, rippling curtains, dancing in the wake of my industry. Movement changes their hue. This room is alternately saturated, blown out through sunblend eyes. The shadows tell their story quietly, as if nobody is listening. Each season, they rehearse the same narrative, only the supporting roles change. Today, I am watching closely, but the harder I focus on one aspect, the less I see. I need to step back, let my focus soften and expand. Pulling back, flooded and dizzy with information, tipsy with possibility, and winter cured, I watch the pieces click together. If I can just stay removed enough, if I can just let enough light in, I can follow the shadow play. And those are two poems from Teva Harrison's collection of poems. Not one of these poems is about you. And now I just thought I would read one from Laisha Rosnau's Our Familiar Hunger. This one comes again near the end. It is called Here I Am, and it is written in 3 parts. 1. Blood flows through my clothes, red so bright it has run clear of the stain of all those hands. My skin is caked with thick earth, stinking with nutrients brought up rich from the deep cold in my palms. Why are my fingernails rimmed in dirt if I am as pure and fertile as rich land, not soiled as those who dig about in it? 2. This town is so young, yet already worn, the dust thick on trees. Nowhere is there a curved lane, scented with lilacs, no billow-topped church, spired with a steeple, no garden wall. But here is the wide earth, where all the wide streets end. From here you can see the moon rise while the sun flares out, edging the world. 3. Out back, where garden meets field, I lie and watch the night come. If I stay still, the stars pass time by tracking invisible veins across my skin. Mark me as one of many. Wink at me as they fade. And that is from Our Familiar Hunger by Laisha Rosnau. And that is all for this week's segment of Let's Talk Books. As usual, I would love to hear what you are reading. We will share those through our social media. If you share with us what you've been enjoying, what books are some of your favorites. So you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, or you can email your recommendations to me at cole@prpl.ca. Thanks a lot for joining us, and have a great week.